From a doll adding positivity to the lives of young girls with positive messages, to a professional poker player who hoped for an investment in his abilities, these are the most outrageous pitches from Dragon's Den. We'll start with Mandy Tanner, who pitched the idea about talking encouragement dolls. The Edmonton woman had developed a line of dolls meant to build young girls' self-esteem. The desire to create this line came to her in a dream nearly 2 decades ago. After 18 years of trying and having countless obstacles thrown her way, she decided to build a doll empire, one purple doll at a time. Her dolls were different from the ones on the market. For one thing, they stood 46 centimeters tall, were made from vinyl, and had a cloth body. But these dolls were more about internal beauty, even though their looks, like their porcelain doll-inspired faces and beautiful hair, would say otherwise. Tanner said that her creation was an inspirational solution, which could change a child's life. It'd build a positive outlook in their minds from childhood, which they could carry with them when they become adults. Her dolls came with a battery-operated compact that, when pushed, prompted them to say one of the 10 powerful statements of encouragement. Since our worlds become so materialistic, Mandy believed it was important to create such a unique product. She'd gotten positive feedback from parents and children about her dolls, and it pushed her to move forward. She asked the Dragons for a $100,000 investment for 35% of her company. Her dolls were available worldwide for $98.95 or $70 for those who bought directly from her. But future pitches should take note that her pitch was creepy, not fascinating, especially when she said that a doll was handed to her in a dream. Kevin told Mandy that she'd been listening to her dolls too much, and the Dragons refused to invest. Even though Tanner's entire experience of going on the show was fantastic and nerve-wracking at the same time, it didn't end up impressing the Dragons. This is only the beginning of bizarre pitches. Puppeteer David Field was hoping for an investment in his company, Virtual Puppets, along with his partner Ali. The pair were offering a 30% stake in the company for £200,000. Their company used an innovative system that instantly animated cartoon characters. Weaving David's alter ego into the pitch certainly grabbed the Dragons' attention, but it left people frustrated because they didn't get what the business was about. Field said it was a new and fun way of communication, which was affordable according to him when it was priced at a whopping £20,000. Their customers were supposed to be branding and marketing companies and exhibition organizers. It came as no surprise they hadn't sold any puppets yet. The Dragons struggled to understand how a power setup this expensive could ever secure significant sales. David argued that it'd be great for marketing companies, who are always looking for interactive systems, that talk to the public itself, but the Dragons believed that the product wasn't exclusive. In fact, one even went on to say that he'd continue to sell puppets on the street, something that David already did. One thought it was nice, quirky, and fun, but not something that'd make money. The pitch got rejected, and while the next one wasn't too bad, it was a strange one for sure. A married couple claimed to have found the solution to a rather delicate problem. Happy Zacks Products had launched a lotion called Scrotum Bliss, which was designed to prevent jock itch and chafing. The pair from Vancouver Island, Chip Nary and Alexa Greer, had gone from one plumbing business to another. They asked for $50,000 in exchange for 50% equity in their startup, which had lotions that rehydrated the area down there. It even had anti-fungal properties. The bottles were handcrafted by Chip himself and sold for around $40 each. They even had a nice poem for a commercial ready. The Dragons tried it and found it very useful. So, what motivated the couple to start the company? It started when Nary developed a little situation himself, swimming and cycling in the hot, humid weather. While the Dragons thought this was a very creative idea and a good hobby, they didn't see it as a product that'd make a lot of money. They were sure that the co-owners would sell a lot of bottles, but they couldn't predict how many because they were unaware of how big the scrotum market was. It was a no from the Dragons, but the partners walked away with encouragement and hope. It wasn't such a smooth send-off for our next entrepreneur. Frank Rosati's mutually independent arm and leg device wasn't fully prototyped, and his pitch was hilarious. In a world full of polished fitness gurus, he looked more like a fitness before model than a real-life pitcher. Just as Frank started to bloom some interesting sweat stains, Arlene walked out of the den, returning with her wine glass in hand. She was in her full takedown mode and said that he was a cockroach on the bottom of a high-heeled stiletto that had been smeared against the sidewalk of hell. Ouch, that must have stung. Next, we have a businessman who hardly needs an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley was back in the building. The gentleman was a local legend in Whitehorse and wanted $58,000 to become a one-man marketing machine in exchange for a percentage of the profits from his album sales, paintings, and various other merch. His unconventional approach became clear when he credited an encounter with aliens for his success. Even though Arlene admired his artistic abilities, the Dragons found his pitch a little bit out of this world when he mentioned his UFO experiences. Kevin brought Elvis back to Earth, telling him that generally, in business proposals, you leave science fiction out. His addition of unearthly creatures didn't enhance value, but made him think that he was sort of a nut bar 6. All Dragons denied the pitch, and he left the building quite shaken. While Presley may have been unlucky, the next pitch ended up securing an investment. David Pybus's had designed perfumes Lost in Time. He was looking for an £80,000 investment for a 20% stake in his company, Sense of Time. It was extremely rare for perfumes to appear in the den. Many entrepreneurs steered clear of such a competitive market dominated by global brands. But David was convinced that there was a niche for his glamorous historical replicas. He was a qualified chemist and marketeer, an author of best-selling books on perfumery. He was also known by the media as the Indiana Jones of the business because he rediscovered ancient perfumes, recreated them, and got them ready for the market. Pybus had a range of 15 perfumes that were top-notch fragrances worn by A-list celebrities. There were also fragrances from the Titanic and of Blue Lotus, which was the perfume of Cleopatra. All these were created by a billion-dollar perfume company that he worked for as a consultant. While he may have resurrected scents from the past, and his enthusiasm for his perfumes was charming, the Dragons were more interested in potential profits. David's weakness was that he didn't have an established relationship in the market, which was a huge off for someone who called himself a perfumer and marketeer. In the end, two Dragons ended up making an unpredictable investment. For hats off to him. Let's talk about one of the most unusual business propositions of all time. J.J. Hazan wanted the Dragons to invest in his poker playing abilities. He pitched himself as a professional poker player and spoke of an investment of £65,000 in return for a 40% stake. This meant that 40% of his tournament winnings for 1 year would go to the investor. But the question was, would any of the Dragons take the gamble? JJ explained that he planned to play 33 major tournaments throughout the year, minimizing the risk and increasing the chances of success. He also built a safeguard to this investment by guaranteeing that they'll get 100% of the first £50,000 that he wins. Hazan agreed that he was asking for an unusual investment, but with the potential of substantial returns. Since November 2006, he'd won $547,000 in tournament winnings. Two of the Dragons even joined him for a poker game. His pitch ended up backfiring because the Dragons said they didn't know or trust him, and they'd be just gambling on his abilities to play poker. As investors, they were supposed to take calculated risks and didn't see this as a business opportunity. Even though he tried to convince them that they'd get their money back immediately, the Dragons were not impressed. So there you have it, from a professional poker player who hoped for an investment in his abilities, to a doll adding positivity to the lives of young girls with positive messages. These were the most outrageous pitches from Dragon's Den.